The world is full of diamonds and gems, and we are having some of them here today to have this event more beautiful. Good evening and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries and delegates from CA Charmisha, who will be the moderator of today's virtual webinar on digital assurance organized by Digital Accounting and Assurance Board and SAFA Committee on Information Technology. Motivation is what gets you started, and habit is what keeps you going. So let's inculcate a habit to learn and acquire knowledge. So today we have the honor to have the presence of our chairman, Sir Charan Singh Nanda, sir, with us. I thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and making up despite of your busy schedule. As it is said, beauty is hidden in everything. Just learn how to observe. To observe the beauty of the invitees that we have today and not eclipsing between participants and the galaxies, I take the privilege to call upon Chairman, Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, CS Nanda, Central Council member of ICAI of the 25th Council of ICAI. He is the chairman of Internal Audit Standard Board ICAI and Committee on Information Technology of South Asian Federation of Accountants. He is also vice chairman of Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Committee ICAI, and he has held positions of chairman, vice chairman during his council tenure in various committees. He is also a member of Quality Review Board set up by the Government of India and member of SEBI Advisory Committee on Primary Market in 2007 to 2010 and Committee on Mutual Funds 2007 to 2010 and represented ICAI on SEBI Committee on Disclosure and Accounting Standards. He is also a member of South Asian Federation Accountants on Committee on Professional Accountants in Business and Committee on Improvement in Transparency, Accountability and Governance. He was also a chairman of North Indian Region Council of the ICAI in the year 2002-2003 and has contributed as a guest speaker at foreign chapters, foreign places, and in India on various topics. With this short introduction, I welcome you, sir, and over to you.
Thanks a lot, Charmi, for a wonderful introduction. My very dear friend, Mr. Anand Jangir, a man who has corresponded himself with technology, CA Amit Gupta, the Secretary DAB, and all participants who have come here to go home more enlightened on the aspects of digital assurance. Ladies and gentlemen, today's seminar holds a special place in my heart. The reason is that it is the last seminar of this year. The council elections to the office of President and Vice President shall be held day after tomorrow on 12th, and therefore today is the last program which DAB is holding for council year 2022-23. Ladies and gentlemen, digital assurance is one of the great areas where a lot of impetus of chartered accountants is desirable. SEBI chairman, we had a detailed discussion with SEBI chairperson, Mrs. Bhadri Butch. She said that she is looking for digital assurance on each and every item of balance sheet and P&L. We have prepared a guidance note, and that guidance note has been released for the consumption of public at large now. I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that everything can be digitally verified, can be digitally assured, except two things. One is depreciation and other is employees' benefit. Internationally, lot of things happen. The basic concept which we need to understand is that where control environment gets weaker, that becomes a breeding ground for frauds. What is the turnover? You can always go and check from the GST portal. What is the import obligations? DGFT. How many employees you have? PF portal. Everything can be cross-checked by a portal. Bank balances from the respective branches. Everything is online. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that now we are changing ourselves from an era of working on desks to technology era of clouds. Very importantly, earlier remote audit or working from home was a distant dream. And today, with all things in the right concern, COVID is under control, yet companies ask only a person to come for 2 working days, and 4 working days, the person is glued at his sets at his home. Times have changed at a manifestual basis. And therefore, we thought it fit that we should have one webinar on digital assurance. What digital assurance can do. And for that, we had 2 of the best of our speakers. Anand Janged, who comes from Bangalore, deeply involved into technology. I see him from his young days, always involved in technology, in finding ways and means to combat frauds, conducting forensic audits. And Mr. Uday Kulkarni, who hails from Pune, he's also senior chartered accountant and has a deep insight into the concept of technology. I will not stand between you and the revered speakers. And I want to thank you all for giving me support throughout the whole year, where the programs were conducted invariably every Friday. And the participants were always overboard. The response which you gave, I request to you, has to continue. DAB is a continuing board, and you have to ensure that next year also you provide this perpetual support to the board and ensure that board achieves newer height every year by year. I want to thank Charmi also. She has been very instrumental in helping the board by becoming a very vibrant coordinator, a very robust coordinator. So, ladies and gentlemen, not taking much of your time, I again hand over the dais to CA Charmi Shah. She would take care and call and invite the speaker of the day, Mr. Anand Janged, for his further deliberations. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. You have done a marvelous and superb job all over the year, be it DAB or it be ISB board. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, and you have the true power to convert the dream of our reality. Thank you so much, sir. Moving on to our session, it's like to ensure smooth interaction between various components of digital ecosystem encompassing interconnected people, processing, and things cutting across the social, mobile analytics, and cloud stack. We have today's session on digital assurance. To throw light on the same, we have with us our distinguished speaker who have a very nice hold on the topic. So, after this session, we all will agree that this has added flavor to our professional life. So, formally introducing CA Anand Prakash Janged, sir. He's a passionate evangelist for tech-based disruption in audit and finance domain. He's professionally a chartered accountant and certified information system auditor. He's managing partner at the AJA, an organization which focus in the area of forensic audit, IS audit, fraud analysis, and broad blockchain for internal audit function. He has been involved in enterprise risk management implementation and IT audit for many international projects at USA, UK, Japan, China, etc. He is also visiting faculty for IIM Bangalore, teaching IS audit and fraud analysis, and visiting faculty at the ISACA, ICAI, and Wellington Institute of Management. He is also a speaker at North America, CACS, and Eurocast of ISACA. With this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir, and the dais is open for you. Over to you.
Thank you, Shalini. And thank you, Karan sir. It was great. Actually, I think this 1 year has been, I was like just thinking now, 1 year is over. We didn't even feel it up. There was so much of activities and all the things. And always great to work under a chairman who has like a vision on changing a lot of things. And that was great, sir. So
Mr. Janged, we'll have many such sessions in times to come. Board has to achieve newer unprecedented heights and times to come. And I'm very confident with robust people like you who always intend to contribute. Sir. We shall be scaling newer heights. Great.
No, thank you, sir. That's great.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
Great. And as I have only one thing, I had a really bad throat and I'm actually at home today. But I really wanted to share it up because there was something very exciting which was happening when I was told that I need to speak on the topic on digital assurance. I actually just tried to add a little bit of this, trying to make my part in terms of what is the thing which would be a value add to all our people who are attending it up. And I'm sure I just thought of tweaking the whole discussion a little bit on two main areas. One, the digital and IS assurance, what's changing around us because the word are being used interchangeably, and the key impact which is there in the chat GPT era. And I'm actually trying to say this is a new era which has actually begin because many of you who are actually in this domain of digital assurance would have seen a lot of change which is happening out there. So that would be something which I would like to cover in my next 1.5 hours. And I'd like to keep it very open for any questions, any query you may have, and try to give you the things which is changing in digital assurance. And as rightly told by Chairman Sir, with every aspect of audit, especially, when we have to give an assurance and assertions which has to be built to prove or disapprove the assertions, we need evidences, we need supportings. And today we are moving to an area where the traditional way of doing things are going to change completely. And what we are going to get as part of the next generation things are totally mind blowing. And it's actually very exciting also. We have ESGs coming, and the ESG reporting, I'm sure all of you have heard about it, is actually getting somewhere intertwined with digital assurance. Because if you are trying to say that, okay, this is the water conversion we have done or conservation we have done out there, how we have done it, what we have done it, and all that kind of things has to be looked into. So without much ado, let me try to take you through what I'm going to cover today. So let's talk about first, what is changing around us. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about ChatGPT, but many of you are still, maybe just heard it somewhere and not experience it. So just excuse me for the little bit of interruption in between. It's a little bit of severe cold. And I have to sip some hot water to just pass me through this. But nevertheless, what's changing around us right now? And why, now IS assurance has been there for a very long time. If you see, DAV has been on a forefront of telling everyone on the digital assurance and IS assurance, saying that how we can actually build on top of that. And Uday Bhai is also going to talk about that. So we were actually discussing what should be the message we should go. So he said, you talk about what has changed, why it has changed, and what are the impact which are going to come for that. And he will talk about more from the implementation part. That implementation part would be something which we are trying to talk it more from a perspective of what are the areas, our CA fraternity can actually leverage and take that forward. So let's talk about what is changing around us. Now, when I talk about what is changing around us, one of the things which never changes is there are two slides which I always keep it up because they are the Genesis slide. I know a lot of you who have ever heard about me, I have been talking about these two artifacts, but just for the sake of repetition, I'm just repeating it once again. There are two artifacts which I would request you to go back and read. The first one is a very interesting material called the book by Richard Susskind and Daniel Susskind, which is called as The Future of Profession. And this piece of artifacts talks specifically about three professions: lawyers, doctors, and accountants. And the most important thing which you can see here is it talks about how technology will transform these professions, where we are human experts are working it out. Now, digital assurance, when we are talking about, it goes without saying that a lot of things which we see around us in the assurance practices is changing. There are businesses which are coming where a traditional audit is not going to suffice at all. There are areas which are now picking up, which requires to have a very different perspective altogether in terms of how we are doing it up. And similarly, there is one another interesting artifacts, which I would request you to go through it in case you get a time. It's called The Future of Job Report 2020. It was by World Economic Forum. A very interesting piece of document which talks about what is changing around us. Now, this too has been classically a document which is there in the news for last 4 to 5 years, right? People have been talking about this. Richard Susskind has been talking about this in 2018 onwards, and this document came somewhere in October 2020. And during the lockdown, there was a lot of discussion which happens on that. But one thing which a lot of people didn't understand, that where does the genesis which comes from? Each of these materials talked about a change happening in the industrial revolution, which has been there in our world for a very, very long time. We all know about Industry 1.0, which started in 1784, and it was all about the mechanization, steam power, and everything. And then we moved to Industry 2.0, friends, which we have been, seeing it up. I'm sure when I say we have seen it up, if you have seen the movie by our gentleman, Mr. Charlie Chaplin, there was a movie called Modern Times. It came in 1934, and that was very well showed what was the impact of Industry 2.0. And then we moved on to the automation part, which started in 1970s and all things. And then something around 2017-18, World Economic Forum came out with a kind of a thought process that we are now entering Industry 4.0. Okay. That is the fourth industrial revolution, which is there. And what happened was, when it came, people started talking about, no one actually understood what they are talking, what are the thought process which is there. There was a nice book written on Industry 4.0. Everyone tried to make their own analysis and all the things. And one of the things which they said was, there is going to be an advent of, there is a word called advent of cyber physical system. A system which is neither a hardware nor a software. It's a kind of a mix of that. Think of a Tesla car. A Tesla car has a physical system because you see that as the tires, engine, batteries, and everything. But it also has a self-drive mode, which basically differentiates it from any other car. And that makes that car a very advanced system, which is, we have been all talking about that, right? They talked about Internet of Things. They talked about networks, big data analytics, smart manufacturing. All these things these were some futuristic ideas. People came out of that. But it took humans a lot more time to, I would say, understand what actually is changing. Because they said, okay, you are saying cyber physical system. Okay, we have something called as Siri, which we are using, and that is also a cyber physical system. So what's so special? It's just like a computer. What's so special about Industry 4.0? Why you guys are so excited about that? But now we are actually seeing the real power of what we call it as the fourth industrial revolution. Or I would not say the real power as of now. It's just the starting point, guys. And that is something which I want to talk about, the ChatGPT. I hope all of you have been trying to, explore it up. It's a very interesting concept called openai.com. You can go to this site, and any one of you can actually, sign in and try their different things. So there are different things which are there. I would highly recommend you to try the ChatGPT model. What is so important about that? So let's try it up there. Most of the time, what happens is this whole system is like very much under pressure in terms of what we call it as number of people who are using it. So you can actually log on with one of your Gmail ID, okay, and try it for yourself. If you have a See, now what happens is, which is not authentication method. So let me try it up because I have been also trying with multiple mail IDs. I think I'll use one of my academic ID, which is much easier for me to get a better access. Yeah. So you see, this is one of the things which I'm just trying to log on. Now, I just logged on and it just says, tell me about yourself. Okay. And it just asked me for my number. And I said, yes. So it's asked me, I'll send you a kind of a code on my phone number. So I'll just get a code right now. And I log on. I'm just trying to, I want you guys to explore it up, friends. That's one of the reasons I'm taking it through that, because it's not some rocket science, And I'm telling you, in time to come, people who can work with AI are going to be more in demand than people who are creating AI. See, when Excel came for the first time, see, I have a free research window right now. So I'll just take it some data and I'll say, okay, done thing. Okay. Now I just logged on to this thing. Okay, right. Now, how many of you here have understood one term which is called script kiddies? Do you understand this term called script kiddies? Anyone here? No? Okay, I think the chat is disabled. Okay, no problem. Okay. So there is a term called script kiddies. And for people who don't know about that, it is a term which is used for people who are not actually hackers, but they are very, very smart with technology. So they know which tool to use to hack where. Okay. Now, I am a guy, I'm not a very smart guy who can write a kind of code. But, right, I hope you know, in digital assurance or IS assurance, we have something called virus and worms. Virus is a program which it comes in your system. It is going to basically destroy some of the files and everything and create problem. They are called as malicious code. Worm, on the other side, when it comes in your system, it basically multiply and takes control of your whole thing. Now, I just asked this machine, ChatGPT, to write a Python code for a worm. Okay. Now just see what it happens. So it's saying is don't understand what a worm means. Am I talking about computer worm? Okay. And it says it may be malicious thing. Okay. You got my point? Now I'll try to show you a same part of that thing. This is like right now, a lot of people are testing it up. There's another thing which is using the same ChatGPT feature, and it is called u.com. And I'll just go and chat and I'll say, write a Python code for a computer. Python code for a computer worm. Okay. Let's see what happens. What you're seeing is this program is writing a code for me. Did you notice this? The moment I connect it up, it is also saying which host I can connect to and do it. Now, what I'm trying to say is, you can even tell this same program. You just saw that here it is telling it is unethically wrong. But the same program is writing me a kind of a complete code of what I can do to actually hack into one of the system. Okay, let's see. I ask, what is SQL injection format? SQL injection format is a security vulnerability which is used in SQL command. So it is just trying to give me the whole detail out there. Now, can you see it's also writing me an example of that? How do I attack it up? Till now, it was saying that, no, I'm not going to give you something which can hurt you, but is now giving me this up. What is happening is, we had a time when we had Google for everything. We used to search, we used to understand and do it up. Now we are moving on to a kind of a world of generative AI. I'm using the word generative AI, which means, you know what? The most interesting thing, if I repeat the same question after some time, this tool is not going to show me the same answer. It will be a different answer, which basically means it is learning from multiple people right now. The concept of machine learning, generative AI is all coming together to give you a kind of a world where anything and everything what you want, the machine is doing it for you. It's a classic case of a cyber physical system where you are asking, people are asking to write the thesis and all the thing. And I'm sure all of have seen the case that Chat GPT has already passed the US law examination and US doctor examination already. So in that kind of scenario, the complete education system, what we see right now, is going to go for a big change. And that is something what we have been all talking about, the fourth industrial revolution. In the Chat GPT era, it is going to transform the way we work, the way we relate to one another, the way we learn, and the way we are going to use this information our day-to-day work. So classically, it is going to have profound impact on the digital assurance side also. Why? Let's understand the use cases. Gone are the days when this knowledge of digital disruption is only for a limited few. Today, anyone and everyone, if he knows how to work with that, let's say, for example, I hope you remember, many of you would remember, there was a time when people never knew how to work with Lotus 123 and Excel. And then they learned how to work with those tools. They learn, oh, I can do this much with the tool. I can do those kind of things with the tools. Today, we are moving on a kind of environment where working with technologies like Chat GPT and Bard, I think Google has already shared one of the competitive technology called Bard, which is actually, again, a cyber physical system, which they are talking about as going to transform the way we work, we connect to each other, all of that kind of thing. And I hope you have also seen what happened because of that. If you are fearing the news, they did a one mistake. The Bard, which is the Google's AI, generative AI platform, it shows one ad where they asked which was the first picture taken, in the outside space, and they gave a wrong information, and it wiped out $100 billion from Alphabet's total market capitalization. So the investors are actually watching it very, very closely. There is a new war. Earlier, we used to have a war of search engines. Now we have a new war which is happening. Microsoft is not just investing $10 billion in ChatGPT just like that. They have already inbuilt it in Bing. And I'm sure you have seen the new Bing, which has got it up. So this is a new era which has come up, friends. And this is the ChatGPT era. We call it the generative AI era, and which is a kind of mix of cyber physical system, Internet of Things, big data, all of the things coming together and changing the way how we look at things. Now, in the situation which we are in now, how does we can leverage it up? How, as CA, we can do and why we should do it now? So there's something very interesting, friends, I just thought I'll share with you. The first one is, I hope you have heard about something called Gartner. If not, please go to their site. It's a very interesting site which is there. It's a research body, Gartner, mostly in IT research and other thing. And they said that Indian market, only IS risk management market, services. I'm not talking about products. Please understand, it is only the services market. As per them, is $2 billion, US $2 billion. That is the India spending report, and worldwide it is 211 billion. And this is all the services market, guys. Now, there is a classic shortage of people who understand both business and digital. That's creating a big challenge for anyone. So we have a great opportunity to leverage this market, which is ever growing. And with the increase in automation, we have seen that 2 years of lockdown, a lot of businesses move to a more and more automation. There are more and more needs of services. In fact, I have been playing with ChatGPT for the last few days because I was down with a viral and I was at home. So, it's very boring to be at home doing nothing. And I'm seeing a lot of use cases which are coming up in digital assurance, which is really going to be a game changer. And with the large corporate failures, and we are all seeing what's happening in case of a couple of short sellers coming up and going against corporates. All large corporates are now going on the governance model. They want to actually fix the governance. And that is going to be, I think, a blessing in disguise, because now people are going to understand that governance, which was taken as a backstage, is not going to be actually out there. And that needs a lot of requirement because technology is moving on the digital area. Your attack surface where the digital attacks were happening have increased. And in that kind of thing, we have data breaches which has led to bankruptcy because organizations knows that reputation risk, as we all understand, is one of the kind of thing. And the number of professionals are very less. And I always give this number just to give you a kind of a back of your hand calculation if you would like to do. Just see this number, guys. I think if I'm not wrong, in India, we have some 37,000 DSAs. If you see certification like CISA, worldwide, there are around 230,000, 230,000 around people. Then we have other certification, but worldwide, you'll be shocked to know there is a huge lack of professionals in this area. And that's the reason why more and more people who are fresh out of colleges are getting into this. But they don't have the business knowledge. We can actually leverage the present change which is happening and present accessibility of information, which was never there in the ChatGPT era, to increase the services to actually become what we call it as, there's a term for that, we call purple people. People who are very good at function or business and also at the technology. Now, there's a very big demand for this purple professional. And these purple professionals are going to change the world. And last but not least, I'm not sure even if I've read a book, very interesting book, The World is Flat. It's by Thomas L. Friedman. It was a New York Best Times thing. And it's a very interesting book because today you can be anywhere in the world and give any services, any part of the thing. We already have seen a lot of our CA firms are giving different kind of services to their clients across the world. This can be one of the game changer because this is one area where there is not much competition. No one else is doing it. And there is a kind of a chance to build up the whole practice, from a scratch up. So those are the things which actually tells us why we should build it up now. And the whole idea is there is a huge opportunities in this domain itself. Most importantly, I'm sure a lot of you would have read this book, Who Moved My Cheese? This was a very famous book, and I'm sure all of you know the story of the two rats, and they keep on having it from the jar. Now is the time for us to basically see this all related areas in digital assurance at a very, I would say, macro level, which we can leverage, which we can tap into, which we can actually see changing the way the businesses are done. The first one is on IS governance. And I'm using the word it can be used interchangeably with digital governance or anything. There's a big problem happening in the Indian corporate, mostly on data governance. 95% of the Indian corporates don't even know where their data are. They don't have a strategy of how they're going to store their data. How much, duplicacy which is there, how much redundant data they have. They don't even know that. That is only one part of IS governance. The way we see the procurement are done, the way they have to plan for their capacity planning, it's a really bad shit. The reason is, I'll tell you very simple. Everyone thinks that IS governance is just copying a couple of policies and procedures from the internet and trying to put it up there, which is not. And organizations which have done it have paid heavily for those misadventure of just trying to copy paste something and taking it forward. There is a need for serious understanding because every business is different. Every business has their own challenges. And in this role, they have to think of what are the areas they can actually end up. We know IS governance is actually a subset of corporate governance. And with the kind of market rally we are seeing, I think this will be a good, I'm not saying that someone has done a good thing or a bad thing. The only point is that if we had a very good governance where we can answer all the questions people are asking, that would actually add up to make us better in terms of how we deal with that. Instead of kind of doing a kind of bits and pieces of IS governance, which most of the Indian corporates are doing, it would lead to somewhere we have a better chance of seeing a kind of end-to-end implementation and some serious thought processing it up there. MSMEs in India are also growing. That's a big area actually. And I think most of the CAs are directly or indirectly somewhere connected to MSME in big number. That's one of the area which can be actually looked into in this change GPT era of Industry 4.0. Because every MSME has a aspiration to become big, to become better. And processes and other things are something which is very important for them. That's area which is missing can be a kind of an amazing area for us to add value to them. Third is IT risk management and operation. Now, I know we had something called IFC, okay? But unfortunately, it has become just like another compliance without actually going through that. But IT risk management and operation review, which is how you're running your IT operation, that requires a little different, thought process altogether in terms of how we are dealing with it, what are the kind of work which we work on. All of that things has to be looked into in a different manner. And that is something which can add a lot of value in terms of how we are dealing with that. So here, friends, what we can actually look into is a kind of a renewed approach on trying to see it from a perspective of the complete IT risks and the operations, how we are working it out there. Similarly, we have privacy. Now, we know Data Privacy Act is coming into picture and all of the great area of opportunities in right now in the digital assurance things. And there is also a kind of important thing on privacy because in ChatGPT era, your information, if it is on the internet and it can be searched and it can be indexed by anyone, it is no more private out there. People can actually do a lot of interesting and also annoying thing with that. So it becomes important for us to understand that era or that process clearly in terms of how do we deal with that. We have also, friends, something on the domain of SDLC reviews and SAP and Oracle or any of these things, ERPs. Now, these areas are classically always there, but now it is moving to somewhere we call it as data enabled audits, where you are not just trying to see the controls. Earlier, it was the focus was only on the controls, that whether the control is working, not working. It's now moved on to whether someone has actually, compromised the control or not. It basically means if you're trying to see some SOD review, the next one, which is there, we may say that this person should not have this 2x's. Now, that is one way of looking at that. But has someone actually used the 2x's, which is not supposed to be used? Those things are now adding to the overall thing, where people are looking at that in a different perspective altogether and trying to work it out. Similarly, we have on the CBS reviews, ERP reviews, there are new compliance requirements which are coming from IRDA, NABARD, and other things. And business resilience is also catching up. And as we move to the same term, I told you the world is flat. Excuse me. So in the given situation, what happens is you don't have to just see for compliances in India. Global compliances which are there are also something which we have to look into and see how we can leverage it up. Okay. So the point which is there is we need to understand very clearly what are the changes which are happening, how they are doing it up there. And it goes without saying things like third-party assurance, which is always a kind of important areas. Cloud, which is having a kind of impact in terms of every businesses who are going for cost cutting and becoming more and more, I would say, competitive in the market. It actually presents new risks. And we have something called cloud control metrics, which is the version, I think 4 has come now. And just implementing that itself is a great area. And it's a huge business opportunity for every one of us in terms of this new era when we are seeing it up there. And it goes without saying, there are new standards like PCI DSS, ISO series, they are going for an upgrade. And there are a lot of other things which are changing out there. The emerging tech. Now, people are talking about one more thing, that how do I audit whether this answer which is coming from ChatGPT is correct or not? So people are actually going to that level, which is auditing the algorithm itself. ChatGPT is actually an algorithm, which is basically learning of its own. Now, algorithmic trading, blockchain, RPA, these are the things which are new areas of practice right now, which we can actually close and add more value to the clients. This is the whole idea that it can actually give a better understanding to all the people in terms of how it is happening, what are the changes which are going through it, and things like that. Now, I have told you what are the areas which is there. Now, the question always arises, what we need to do for that. How do we do that? That's most important thing out here. I always get this question also in digital assurance, and that's the reason me and Uday Bhai today we'll just talk about the top level, high level, what are the things which people can do. But most importantly, you need to actually invest time in this area. Invest time in this area when I'm saying it, I was just trying to do a very interesting thing, and I'm just showing it to you. I just wrote one thing that write audit program for auditing Cisco firewall. Cisco has firewall and you need to audit it up. Let's see that. So you should begin gathering information. Now, I'm just trying to say that, can you see the kind of information it is trying to bring it up there? And I can even go to a very simple thing. Instead of if I remove Cisco, just see the kind of change it will get. For firewall should have baseline, identify the potential risk, test the firewall. Now, what I'm trying to bring out here is there was a time when we used to go and basically search for information on many sites. It would be SACA, resources there, our Institute ISA site, NIST, and try to understand what are the things which are there, how people can do it, because every new technology required a new understanding of that. But what happened was that slowly a lot of things has now become available to anyone and every one of us. You and me, all of can actually get to have the same amount of information resources with a tool like ChatGPT. It can actually do it for you, also it can do for me. And there are a lot of online trainings which are available right now. But the whole idea is you need to give time to this one, which a lot of people don't do. There is a very interesting saying by one of the very famous, he was a boxer of US. They asked him, what is your success? What is the secret of your success? And he gave a very interesting term. You can Google it after his name, you'll find it out, or you can ask ChatGPT. That he said a statement that everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die for it. Now, if you want to go to heaven, you have to die for it, right? Now, which means you have to give time. It's not going to happen that we have a CA degree and that's why you can do it up. Even when the people do CA, after that, they will go and specialize in income tax, they specialize in GST. They give a lot of time onto that. So you need to give it up. It is not going to be like just simple, oh, I know this and it can be done. A degree is just a starting point. It is not the end in itself. So that's one of the things which you have to do. But most important thing which we have is the knowledge of the business and IS-based fundamentals. What you can do is, I am sure all of you have heard about this very famous book, The Outlier. There is a very interesting term in The Outlier. Bill Gates is not Bill Gates because he was lucky. Steve Jobs is not Steve Jobs because he was lucky. Each of these guys have followed the 10,000 hour rule. What is 10,000 hours rule? It says, if you want to become an expert in an area, you have to give 10,000 hours. If you can't give 10,000 hours, you should basically not get to that area at all. And that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you. You need to consider giving time. You need to consider giving more, I would say, inputs in areas where you require to have it up. But what you have got is just like, we used to have what we call it as, the famous case in Mahabharata. There was a time when Dronacharya actually said he is not going to teach Eklavya. And Eklavya said, okay, I'll learn it myself. And he actually became a better, with bow and arrow than Arjun. Now, that same thing is possible today because there is something, a kind of generative AI, which is there to help us in those area. So we need to leverage it up. That's my point, which I'm trying to say that. And most importantly, you will see that, creating audit programs and all things, I just given a sample. This is something which I've copied from one of the link which was given by ChatGPT. So it actually is reading from multiple places. When I went to the source was coming to somewhere in Isaka. And those source was giving a lot of information which was not there earlier. Now, if we go back to the same thing, it's basically trying to get the same resources which is available, but it takes us a lot of time to search and filter it out that, okay, this is the resources. And here where we can just ask someone, just like you coming and asking me, okay, Anand, you have done so many IS audit, how do I do this? And I give from my experience, these are some of the points which you can actually look into. Those are the things which it's adding up a lot of value out here, guys. So the point is, we need to see in this ChatGPT era, a new kind of world which is emerging. An era where information is not just for some people, and information in the form is getting into the form of knowledge. So you ask, how do I do that? And it tells you how to do that. In fact, some of the points people who are testing has gone to an extent of testing how to make a bomb and all things. So that's why they have put some restriction on ethical questions and non-ethical questions. But the point which is there is, this is just the beginning. It's just not that other people are not investing into the same concept. They are investing a lot in the same concept. And there is going to be a lot more generative AI revolution coming our way. And when this revolution comes our way, guys, what you are going to see, in a very, very interesting manner, you will see that everyone has access to the same set of information. It is only how that person leverage that information and work on that is going to be important. And that is something which will become important for all of us. Now, here, one more thing which we need to look into. As I was telling you, some of the resources, there are a lot of resources which are there right now. I just wanted to give you these resources and I wanted to see, try out ChatGPT yourself and tell for your thinking that is it giving you, like you go and search the same resources on some specific area and the ChatGPT engine basically comes up and try to give you the same thing once again. You have to see that whether we are getting the same answer or not. The first one, as the goes by, that is ISACA. Okay. ISACA is telling that they have all this information, a white paper and all thing. And the whole idea is going to be this information is given into kind of a bits and pieces out there. Now, this same information is then packed together. And with a kind of a crux of that, what happens and all the thing, you get the final versions which is coming it out. Okay. So that's something is going to be important. Okay. Second thing which is there is on the DoD sites, you have a lot of information on Center of Internet Security benchmarks, which are there. ISO has a lot of information, Cloud Security Alliance, and the most interesting source is we have on NIST and other things. Okay. So those things are the one which we can actually look into and take it up there. So the same core differences, and I'm going to take you back to the same ChatGPT, site which we were actually discussing. Now, you need to think of the same thing here in the different manner altogether. Now, we just ask some question, and you can just ask us, what is, 1 minute. What is, I'm just giving an example of COVID-5. And all these things, information which is coming out here is actually being coming out from those processes only. But what you will notice is it is going to be more of summary and all the thing. And I can always tell it up that you stop generating this one. I don't want that one. But at a kind of a glance, you know this information which you want. And that gives you a kind of a complete picture in terms of dealing with that. So this is what we want to actually, inculcate as a kind of a technology set, which can give you the same information out there. So friends, to conclude, because already our next speaker, Udai, is already there. Just to conclude, I wanted to give you a kind of thing that digital assurance in the ChatGPT era is actually going to be a very different thing. We have a lot of change which is happening around us as we speak. And that changes. The genesis comes from the artifact which I talked about in Industry 4.0. But ChatGPT has actually shown us clearly what are the most important things or the skill set which is required for the 22nd century, the next century which we are going to be working in. And that is going to be somewhere where we can work with the generative AI in the digital assurance domain. Because the digital assurance domain is not going to be the same again. It is undergoing a huge change. It is also working, and it is in a manner right now. It can help us to leverage all the things which we are looking for in terms of doing it up there. So my submission to all of you would be explore the change environment, become an evangelist in this area, see the opportunity which are now getting generated because of all the changes, and leverage those up. Okay. So that's from my side, friends. Any questions, anything Jeremy can say, or anybody, Udai is there, so I will not take much time. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm really sorry for the bad throat and a little bit of, my viral for last few days has been a bad thing, but I didn't want to miss this chance. So it was a pleasure interacting with you. Over to you, Jeremy.
Thank you, sir. Your explanation was so lucid that your bad throat didn't disturb our participants at all. And we right now we do not have any questions, as I think you have clearly explained them so much that they do not have any queries on the same topic.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, Devai. So Devai is there.
Hey, hi Anand, how are you?
All good, all good. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
So we would like to express a deep sense of gratitude to you, Anand sir, for guiding us through the topic and sparing your valuable time with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So moving on to the next session, we have with us CA Uday Kulkarni, who is a practicing chartered accountant and with professional experience of 25 years. A fellow member of Institute of Chartered Accountant and a certified internal auditor, and also a certified information system auditor. He's also qualified as insolvency professional under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of India and has completed digital forensic course. His focus area are information system audit, cyber security, forensic audit, IBC advisory. He has a wide experience in various types of information system audit, external audit, internal audit, fraud investigation, and due diligence. He has also appears before NCLT as an authorized representative. Apart from practicing, he is a national faculty for bank concurrent certificate course and forensic accounting course of the ICAI. He imparted training on various aspects of forensic auditing, money laundering, legal aspects, and cyber security for legal and investigating officer in Sri Lanka, Nepal, CA Institute, RBI Academy, SBI Credit Risk Academy, etc. With this short introduction, I welcome Uday sir, and the floor is open for your views, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Charmi. Even though it looks like a short, but I felt it is too long. I don't know why. Anyway, I hope the quality of my audio is better. You can all listen whatever I'm saying. Is it okay? Fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I have purposefully kept the video because here is some lighting issue. So you know that it's coming all dark. So I have kept that all off. Okay. So right now I'm going to share the PPT. Just wait for a minute. I hope it is visible. Can you respond? Yes. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Okay. So good evening, all the participants. Digital assurance. Something which is, I may say new or not new, I don't know, because we are in the digital world. We are trying to cope up with the assurance in this digital world. And there are different approaches for this digital assurance right now also. So I'm going to talk about these different approaches which are there available right now. And one of that approach has been already discussed by you with the talk of Anand Bhai. So going ahead, I will try to put some different perspective for this digital assurance, because this area, I may not say it's evolving. Already it is there. But let us think from a different point of view also, have a look at it from a different point of view also. We all know that when the stakeholders are doing any kind of a business, or they're trying to establish any kind of a business relationship with any business entity, the basic thing they are looking for is a trust, right? So we all are the stakeholders of one or another businesses. So we are related with that businesses either as a customer, we are related as an investors. Somebody may supply the raw materials or other services for any businesses. Banks and the financial institutions, they are connected with these businesses as financiers. And government, of course, regulating taxation point of view. And ultimately the society at large, who is looking what the contribution that business is doing for the society at the largest level. But all these things basically depends upon the trust. So the basis of the relationship, whether it is been the social relationship from the society's point of view, or other stakeholders relationship with that business entity, it is basically totally depend upon the trust which is going to be established between the stakeholder and that business entity. The trust is one thing. How the trust can be built up, that is another story, but I will touch upon that. And the related thing is that to establish that trust, the assurance, and basically the third party assurance, which contributes a lot, so that, whatever the trust we are having, so we are assuming some kind of interest when we are establishing the relationship. If third party gives us the assurance, okay, that business entity is performing better, you can invest into that kind of things, that stuff is coming from somewhere, from the third party, then we rely more on that businesses. And that is the contribution which is done by any type of assurance. And we all know, because we are all in that profession. So how this trust is basically built up. If you see the procedure of the building up a trust, I know that I'm going to discuss about the digital assurance, but basic thing about why the digital assurance is required is something related to this trust. So I'm just preparing the background for this digital assurance, right? So the stakeholders' trust is coming from the entity level, a broader level. It starts from the entity level trust. So which is the entity? Okay, what is the name of the company? What is the background of that company? Who are the owners or the promoters of those companies? What is their ethical values? How they are behaving? Okay. How they are driving this entity, how they are driven through this, driven this company in the tough phases. All this is contributing. All of this information nowadays is very well available on the various social platforms. So we are gathering all that information, and then basically, if we are the consumers, we are the customers, then basically we also wanted to put a trust on the products or services which we are enjoying. Okay, whether it is a consumable products or whether it is any type of the services like the telecom services or like a banking services, insurance services. Basically, we want to have the trust in their products or in their services. You can say that it's quality, right? But quality may again converts into the trust. This trust can be created by these business entities through the business processes. So basically, if you look at it from the customer's point of view, you can go with the first 3 points. I mean, you can look at with the entity level trust, you can go with the owner's trust. And if you are the customers, you are trying to find out the trust in the products and services. But all these trusts can be built up by giving the assurance about the business processes. And nowadays, all the business processes, we all know, all those processes have been digitalized, right? So when we talk about the business process trust, we are talking about the digitalized processes. It's not the manual processes, but we are talking about the digital processes, right? So digital processes includes the trust on the digital channels with which we are experiencing or which we are going to do the business. Then the trust on the data, because whenever we are interacting with the digital world, we are putting a lot of data into that. Our name, the products, the services, our contact numbers, addresses, and whatnot, right? We are making the payment. The payment is also one of the kind of data which is getting inserted in these digital processes. So how that data is playing the role, so building up that process-related trust, that also crucial factor. Because when we listen the news like that particular agency's data is getting leaked, or if the cyber attack is there on a particular agency and the data is getting hacked, nowadays we get worrisome about those news. Earlier we were not having that much kind of an investment of our time in those news, but nowadays whenever if you listen that a particular bank where you are having an account and that bank's data is hacked, you started worrying about, you will try to visit, you will try to call that bank, and you wanted to relax yourself by asking that, ki bhai, mera kuch problem nahi hai now, whatever the things are there within the bank with my data, whether that is safe and sound or not. So that kind of an importance is there now for this data. Then the trust on the output. Output could be in any format. It could be in the report format, it could be in the service delivery, it could be in the product delivery. So that report or that delivery of the products or the services. Earlier, we were thinking on the digital part, the output only in the report format, but or in inquiry on the on the screens or like that as an assurance professional. But right now, the output is totally changed. The output could be the delivery of the services. The output could be of the delivery of the products also. So that output needs to be also accurate. So how this trust needs to be built? I mean, whether it is entity-related trust, whether it is product or processes-related trust, how the trust is built up. So built up is two things, either by the experience. Of course, if we are having experience with particular brand, then we try to keep using those brand repeated again. Because why? Because we have built up a trust on that particular brand, isn't it? So the experience is, the important factor which is contributing a lot in building the trust. And the second thing is the visibility, right? Yeah. Earlier, what was happening, because this visibility has got a transformation itself. Now, the visibility of the trust has been shifted from the physical to the digital systems, right? Earlier, when we wanted to do certain kind of shopping, so we used to go to the malls. We wanted to feel those things which we wanted to have purchased. We wanted to inquire physically with the salesman about the quality, about the warranty, about the performance. And sometimes we also wanted to have a demo there itself about the products or services, right? Now, you can imagine that if you wanted to purchase a washing machine, right? So you wanted to visit that particular seller or dealer of the washing machine. You wanted to feel, you wanted to touch, you wanted to see the color, you wanted to see the facilities. So all that things were happening with your personal interactions with those kind of things, right? And a lot of questions will be there, of course. And those questions, you were trying to get the answers again personally. So you were actually believing on that physical human beings, which he or she is responding to your queries, and you are trusting, you are creating the trust about these products and services. Again, when there were two entities which were transacting with each other, let us say that X company with transacting with the Y company, again, they were transacting on the basis of physical documents like agreements. So there were the physical agreements, like the purchase agreements, like the sales agreement, like the maintenance agreements. So all those stuffs were handled through the physical documentation, right? So in that also, we were deciding the terms, conditions, all these things on the paper basis. We were reading each and every clause, and we were trying to, discuss those clauses and get it done through the physical paper. And we are putting our physical signatures on that. So physical verification, as from the auditor's point of view. Now let us talk. This could be from the customer's point of view. This could be from the entity to entity point of view. What was happening at the auditor's point of view? What was happening at the assurance level at that time? So we were going to physically verify everything. So we wanted to have physical evidences in the basis of paper-based transaction. We wanted to have that ledger book right now. Okay, cash book. We wanted to have that physical cash book. Bank book. We wanted to have a bank book. We wanted to have vouchers, physical vouchers needs to be signed, right? We wanted to have that supporting documents like the delivery challans, invoices. All of them are right now paper-based. Okay, and we wanted to have a seal, signature, all that thing. And then we were confirming with our judgment, professional judgment. Okay, this could be the suitable evidences to confirm the transactions and all these things right now. So we have done that. Now the focus is totally shifted. You can say thanks to this corona, whatever, or even though I think that even though there could not be the pandemic like the corona, still we would have moved to this digital area. But I can say the speed was accelerated by this pandemic, nothing more than that. Otherwise, the things which we are doing right now could have been done in 2025. But because of the pandemic, the things which would have done in 2025, right now we have started already doing that. So we have shifted the trust, the physical visibility to the digital visibility, isn't it? So now we have started online shopping. Now, if you wanted to purchase the washing machine, there is no need to visit any dealer's shop. No need at all. You can go to the online shopping, website. You can have a feel of that. There are 3D images. There are videos. All the facilities are recorded. There is a chat box. You can interact like you are interacting in a physical human being. Now there is a chat box which is answering the same answers which you were there in the personal interaction. So what has started happening now? The physical presence has gone and you have started having the trust by this digital visibility. So you have started the digital interaction. Also now let us go to the entity to entity level things. Now there are digital contracts, right? The agreements are digitalized, right? We are in the world of cryptocurrencies and we are in the world of this, virtual assets kind of things. So all these things are now, the agreement kind of stuff is also getting recorded in the digital manner. How it works? So whenever you are making any, say, clicking on any box where you say that the terms and condition, I agree. So that kind of things are started happening. That is marking your acceptance somewhere is getting recorded that you have accepted those terms and condition. Whether you are reading or not, that is your question. But the things have started moving from the physical agreement to the digital recording. And now what happened in the assurance side, right? Now we're trying to establish the confirmation, obtaining the confirmation. Instead of now the physical documentation, now we are having the digital evidences. We are now having the virtual verifications, right? Whether we are doing it or not, that is what we are going to discuss in this digital assurance. But that is the reality now. That is the things which we are facing. Because now if you see really, when you go to the banking sector, the more and more example might come up in my lecture from the banking sector because I'm dealing mostly in the banking services. So if you really want to, now there is why there is a need to verify the transfer challenge for the internal bank transfers. Earlier, when you were going for any bank audit, whatever be the type of the audit, you wanted to see the transfer transactions by having that debit and credit transfer channels, right? But now there is no need because everything is getting, prepared. The invoices, the transfer channel itself can be created by the CBS, which is there used by the bank. And what is the need of that print also? Because you can view that, you can watch that invoices on the screen itself. So you can confirm that. And instead of having the seal and signature, you can have the login IDs of the person who is entering the data and the person who has authorized that particular invoices or the transfer channel. So that facility is even available even in the ERPs of the companies, isn't it? So actually, where is the need to have that paper-based documentation for the verification? And then the evidences are now, when we are discussing about everything is available in that ERP solution, in that CBS kind of systems, then these are becoming the digital evidences. We are asking for digital evidences in the form of, let us say, invoices. We are asking the digital evidences in the form of vouchers, receipts. That is our requirement. That is our view to look at those records in the very old-fashioned way. Like we are asking the physical invoice, the same thing, in the same format we want in the digital world. We wanted to have the acknowledgement of the receipt in the same format which we verified in the physical documentation area, timing, and the same thing we want to replicate in the digital evidences. But the thing is that whether that is really required or we can think something else about that. That is the different perspective which I think I would like to think about and I would like to talk about in this session. So the business ecosystems have transferred or the business ecosystem itself has entered into the digital world itself, because there is a less manual interaction, less physical movements also. And this is the good example. Now we are discussing all these things. We are discussing digital assurance with the digital world, isn't it? I have not come to any branch. I have not visited any regional offices of our ICI. We are discussing this on the digital world itself. So this is a digital ecosystem, right? So we have stopped the physical movements. So now I'm not moving anywhere. I'm sitting in my office, in my home. I'm delivering the lectures. So this is what is happening. This is the reality. So absence of the paper-based documentation. Imagine how you are doing the transaction at the various levels, at the various channels, even for the shopping, even for the banking. Do you remember that how many times you actually visited the branch for withdrawing of a cash or doing any transfer kind of a transaction? How many times you have visited? Absolutely nil. So right now there is a less paper-based transaction, but still now what is happening on the assurance side? So still, as I said, what we are expecting, the same scenario we wanted to repeat when we go for the audit. So as I said, we wanted to look at the invoices in the same format which we were expecting in the physical arena. So we wanted to exactly the same replica of that. We wanted to have the same replica of the vouchers. So we are expecting again here, when we are asking for the same kind of formats, we are asking here, or we are thinking about this computerization just like a printing machine, isn't it? So earlier it was manually prepared things. Now we are asking the same format in the printed fashion from this, from this computer. But that's not the sufficient, because we have to change our methodology about how can we do the audit with the digital evidences, with the digital records as it is. And that is something which we have to think about when we are thinking about on the broader mindset about the digital assurance. So whether the paper-based evidence as it was required in the physical assurance timing, whether the same thing we require in the digital ecosystem, that the thought is important, right? And why our mindset when we were carrying out the audit in the physical or paper-based kind of systems, we were having the assumptions, we were using the techniques, assurance techniques, audit techniques by considering the possibility of the human errors. So there could be the wrong posting, totaling mistakes. Even now, when we are in the digital world, when we are going to do the audit in the ERP systems or in the CBS systems, still we are having the mindset that there is a possibility of human error. And that is true. I'm not denying that, because the staff may enter the wrong value as an input in that ERP or the CBS system. That is possible. I'm not totally denying that. So somehow, still there is a possibility of the human errors, and the impact of that now could be wider than the paper-based regime. So there is still some importance to that, but certain human errors like the totaling or the posting kind of things, we have crossed that a long back, and I think even as an auditor, we are not thinking about the possibility of that, but still it could be the possibility, but we are not thinking from that point of view. So now the thinking is that businesses have done a lot of things. Businesses have come forward. They have already started digitally interacting. They are doing all the digital moments, and they are ready, or they are doing the digital documentation. Now, sometimes they wonder when we ask for some physical documents, and sometimes they say that, okay, they will generate the same data in two different format of the reports, and then they will present us, and we may be engaged in checking both the reports. Actually, there is no difference, because only the data is presented in a different manner in two different reports. But we believe that is an evidence, but it is not the evidence. It is the data, which is the common thing. Okay, it is just presented in a different format. So whether that is really the evidence, that is the time we have to think about. So we have to think a lot about this assurance techniques, technology, and whether that technology can be changed in a digital manner. That is exactly the digital assurance, right? Now, the systems which are in existence digitally. So I'm calling it as a digicosystems. So it is not an ecosystem. Earlier we talked about the business ecosystems, but I'm not talking about the business ecosystem. I'm talking about the digicosystems. So what is this ecosystem? So right now we started, if you see many of the seniors here who are participated here, they might be knowing that they might have started their audit profession somewhere in the 1980s or 1990s, where the computer was a very new machine. I mean, many of us were very afraid to touch that machine. So there were single machine we may find in any particular business entity, and somebody is using that, and we may not have dared to touch that also at that time. And then there was a shift. Then particular applications were developed, and something started to move. So in those days, there were, the machines were not networked with the longer time of distance. There was no WAN, wide area network. It was within that particular premises, the machines were getting operated. So that was also a new thing. Then they started connected with the WAN via wide area network, and then all these ERP and the CBS kind of things, which evolved, and then it went to the cloud environment, AI and machine language and whatnot. So that is coming up. But the real thing is now the organizations have crossed their digital boundaries. What I want to say here, what is the outcome of all this discussion? The organization, the entities have crossed their digital boundaries. What I mean that? So when, let us take again banking sector. So earlier there was a computerization of a particular branch. We used to call that as a TBA, right? So the computerization was restricted towards only that branch. Now that boundary was crossed by having the wide area network, having the CBS solutions, core banking systems. So what has happened that all the branches connected with each other. So that was the first crossing of a boundary from a particular business point, and which connected with all the service centers or the service outlets. And ultimately, the data was centralized in that CBS. Now, further ahead, now the banking sector itself crossed that boundary by connecting, by giving the access to their CBS systems to a whole lot of other words or other sectors. And that is the reason now you can experience the smoothly functioning of the taxation payments, the utility bills payments, your insurance payments, your foreign exchange transactions, right? Even your purchase and sales of the shares and activities in the share markets, all these things. So boundaries have been crossed, and now one entity is talking with the other entity also. That is through the digital mode. So the bank is talking with the capital markets are talking with the banks. Bank also talks with the utility providers like the telecom sectors or like the local corporate bodies and all that. So what has happened? If you look at this movement, so the sectors have crossed their boundaries, how? Digitally. And now all these sectors are talking digitally with some interfaces, with some interactions. So we can call that is a larger part of the digital ecosystem. So if you see some of those financial sectors, which I mentioned in the left column, so capital market. So capital market is totally digitalized. Whatever you wanted to, transactions, of course, I'm talking from the good perspective, not from the any attacker's perspective. So whatever you wanted to do on the capital market, you can do that digitally. If you want to open the account, if you want to do the transaction, if you want to buy, if you want to sell, if you do any kind of a transaction, all these are happening within a click with your mobile, isn't it? So now capital markets are talking with so many entities to perform or to get that seamless experience for you. So they are talking with the depository participant, they are talking with the with the companies, they are talking with the banking sector. So this is the boundary. What I say that it is the crossing of the boundary of that particular entity. So capital market is like that, money market for that matters. So the financial institutions, bankers, or even now the RBI has opened the security transactions to the individuals. Now, if you want to open the account for that kind of trading, it is very seamlessly within sitting in your home on the mobile, you can open that account, you can trade that. It is not required to go outside of the home. It is not required to purchase any form. You have to write it by any ink, black, blue, and you have to make any signature. Nothing is required. It is a very, very seamless experience. The same thing is there for the forex market. If you wanted to purchase or sell the dollars or the pounds and whatever for any of the transactions for your foreign counterpart. All that you can do with a click within the mobile app. All the facilities are provided there. So banking sector, capital markets, money market, foreign exchange, all that stuff is totally digitalized, and not digitalized within the entity. They have crossed the boundaries and they have created the digicosystems. So when they are talking with the other sectors, they are creating the digicosystems. Fintech and the insurance is another example. Now you can purchase the insurance. You might have seen the advertisement that when the traffic police is stopping you for not having the insurance, at the same time you can purchase the insurance. So that is the power which has given to you by the digital system. IT sector is the leader, I can say, of all the digital system because of the cloud system, because of this artificial intelligence. Now, if you wanted to purchase any application, even the CBS kind of stuff, even the ERP kind of stuff, now, there is no need that any software engineer will visit your site. He will download, he will carry the CD, he will carry the USB. All that days are gone. So they will simply provide you the link through the email or whatever the stuff, or they will provide you the website from where you will have to enter some login credentials, details, and you can start downloading that particular application. So there is no need that the software engineer will visit your site and download the stuff for you. Those days have gone. Maintenance of your hardware, maintenance of your software, all that is happening remotely, isn't it? So all these things, support services, maintenance services, application-related services, hardware maintenance, all those things are happening within this digital ecosystem. And if you want to get rid of all these things, cloud is helping you. So you can go to the cloud. You can interact with the cloud. There could be the hybrid mechanism. Something would be in the cloud, something would be in your data center, whatever would be the architecture you want according to your requirement. You can build up that. AI or the machine learning language, I think the Anand Bhai has talked a lot about that, so I will not repeat that. The sectors which are marching towards the digital systems. The sectors like education, pandemic core, that the coronavirus has opened the eye for the education providers and the platforms which now they are making available for this education purposes. Now, there is a possibility that this education could also be involved into this digital system. Okay, because in the pandemic time, we have used totally the education sector only on the digital platform without visiting physically. Food services, the aggregators who are providing the home delivery kind of stuff. So really now there would be the question whether there should be a restaurants of a sizable size is required or not, because if everybody is going to enjoy the food at the home by selecting the food on the app and getting the delivery at the home, so would like to travel and visit those places, all that things. Entertainment, whatever the movies you wanted to see on the OTT platform or wherever, now those things are available. And all these things, wholesale and retail supply, all of us now doing a lot of, shopping on this website. So what is happening in all these things, they are showing you the videos of the product, they are showing you the services, and they are showing you all the features, qualities. They are discussing with you. If you want to discuss other queries, they are providing all the, helping hands and all that. That is all happening in the digital way. Even the automobile sector, driverless cars. So driverless cars, that is coming into the reality, and that is the biggest change maker in these digital systems. But the thing is that where is the assurance sector in this digital system? Whether the assurance sector itself has created its own digital system. When we are talking about the digital assurance, we have to question ourselves that whether our assurance sector has built up any such digital system. That's the answer which we'll try to understand within this topic. So digital trust, the definition of the digital trust is provided by the ISACA. It is they are again confidence, but confidence about what? The confidence in the integrity, right? In the integrity of what? Of the relationship. So basically integrity of relationship Because when I'm doing any transaction, when I'm purchasing, let us say a washing machine, I'm repeating that example, sorry for that. When I'm purchasing a washing machine, so with how many entities I am maintaining the relationship? So first, I am establishing the relationship with the online suppliers, whatever be, let's say Amazon or whoever be the other entity. So I'm establishing relationship with them. Then I'm selecting a particular brand of a particular company. So I'm establishing the relationship with that particular brand. Then I'm establishing the relationship with the payment gateways, and ultimately I'm establishing the relationship with my banks. So all these multiple relationships are now getting established. So integrity in all these entities relationship is very much. पहले क्या होता था? In the beginning, what was happening? So we were visiting only the vendors, the distributors. We were selecting the brand, and we were making the payment. So there were only two entities involved. One, the dealer. Second, the brand. Now the stakeholders are increased, the entities are increased, relationships are increased. So integrity in all these relationship, interactions with all these entities and transactions with them. So integrity of the relationship, integrity of the interaction. Because why integrity of the interaction is important? Because again, let us say that that washing machine of a particular brand you wanted to purchase. So you are going for that particular purchase of machine on a particular website of an online shopping provider. So now you will search for that particular brand on that website. You will type that, you will interact through the website, and they will give you the range of the products. The pictures will be there, the videos will be there, the 3D images will be there, right? Now the thing is that how you can put a trust, and whatever the pictures they are showing, the product is going to be delivered of the same image, of the same features, of the same quality, right? So you may wanted to have some doubts, you may have some queries, or you may feel bit some unsafe, but the website provider, that online shopping entity, give you the assurance that whatever the images, whatever the videos, whatever the products they are showing, those are actually the products of that particular brand. So there is no duplication. These are not the fake products, right? So that kind of an assurance is required. Now you can feel where is the digital assurance required. So whatever the product, let us say you wanted to have the Whirlpool kind of an washing machine. So how can you confirm that whatever the product they are showing me, that is really of a Whirlpool? Because even though it's just like an advertisement, when you see the images, when you see the videos, it's just like an advertisement. So how you can confirm that, okay, these are the real products which are manufactured by that Whirlpool or that LG manufacturing company? Because on the site, you are feeling that, on the site, you are watching that, but you want to confirm that. Because when you were visiting physically to the distributors, you were wanted to know that whether he is an authorized distributor, because there was a word which we were using when the dealers were there, that authorized dealers of the LG. So you were establishing the trust because he is authorized. If you further inquire, they will show you some documentation. Thereby they say that, okay, this is the letter from the LG and we are the authorized dealer of that. But whether that online shopping entity, whether they are having any kind of that certification, whether they are whatever the things they are showing us, whether that offer really, there is no duplication of that kind of an assurance, somebody should give to the wider range of the customer. And that is where the first play of the digital assurance starts. So you can understand where there is a need of a digital assurance. So to confirm this integrity with all these stakeholders, with the suppliers, providers, consumers, customers, even if I am the supplier, I wanted to know that the entity which is purchasing my goods or services, he really is a genuine entity and they really need the services. And I should have an assurance about, okay, they will make my payments, whatever the mode I'm talking about. So that confidence needs to be built up. And who will build up that confidence? That confidence needs to be built up by the assurance. And this is the first level where the market failed where the society or where the stakeholders feel that this assurance needs to be given by somebody, and there the first step was taken about this digital assurance. So the digital assurance is more about establishing or enhancing, I may say, the trust in the this ecosystem. So it's not only about the integrity of the data. It's not only about the processes. It's not only about the interactions between the websites or between the gateways. But when we are talking about the this ecosystem trust, it should be related to the digital governance, the security of all the processes, security of all this ecosystem, accuracy. So whatever we are ordering, we are getting that accuracy. Whatever the price is fixed, we are making the payment and the genuine receiver is receiving that. And ultimately the performance stability. So because performance, if you are trying to interact with any of these entities through the website, and if you can see the lot of disturbances on the websites, and you are not able to feel, if you are not able to see, if you are not able to experience digitally, I'm talking about the product with the clarity and all that. And so there could be some performance stability, and you may not turn to that particular website to have that particular online shopping. And of course, when you are interacting, you are, as I say, you are going to share a lot of data. You are going to share the card-related data. You are going to share your personal data. You are going to share your mobile numbers. You are going to share your addresses, email, and whatnot. Even in the banking and financial sector, capital markets, you are going to provide your PAN numbers and the sensitive information. So the trust needs to be established that whatever the data you are going to share with all these entities, that will be kept securely, safely, with all the practices of the privacy, which whatever is specified in the law, that are being complied. So when we talked about these sectors cross their boundaries. Sectors are now talking to each others seamlessly with the digital interfaces, I can say, or digital integration. And for that integration, the digital assurance is required, and that trust can be built. Why this is required? Because when we talk about one entity is talking about with another entity, right? X bank is talking with another bank, or X bank is talking with the telecommunication sector. All those are using multiple digital platforms. We cannot imagine that. Bank may be using one digital architecture. They are having their own servers, they are having their own operating system, they are having their own applications, but they are seamlessly talking with the telecom sectors for making the payment of the bills. Or even when we are purchasing something online from the online website, so we are ordering for that particular online entity. So that entity might be using a particular kind of an architecture where they are having their own setup. They might be using the IBM Power Series. They might be using the AIX kind of an operating system, right? They might be using certain types of the applications. If you are doing it from the laptop or the desktop or the mobile, they are having their own, websites or the applications. And we don't know whether that the particular entity, they are having their own data centers or they are using the cloud services. We are totally black. We are totally blind. It's just like a traveling in the space. We don't know where is the data is going to ultimately reside. Where is the application is coming in front of me? Whether it is coming from their own data center, whether it is coming from the cloud kind of an architecture, we totally don't know. We are totally blind. So one company may be on the cloud, the other company may be having their own data centers. So any possibility of any kind of an digital architecture is possible. And not only that, whatever the online shopping experience, whatever is the online banking experience we are having on our laptops, the same experience the customers ultimately wants on their mobile. So some customers may want to order through the laptops. Some customer would like to order through the desktops. Some customer would like to order from the tabs or from the mobile. So entity which is providing the digital services like online shopping, they have to think about that. Even though I'm opening particular URL, even though I'm providing particular URL, I'm allowing to interact through my website, but that website needs to perform, needs to have a scalability to adjust with all these different types of the devices. So the same experience the customer should get if he's ordering from the mobile, the same experience he should have when he's ordering from the desktop. Right. And not only that, now there is a lot of interaction with the mechanical devices, with the IoTs. So not only the ordering kind of stuff, but the usability of that things, the operation part of that is also getting digitalized with the help of the IoT. So the mechanical devices are also getting integrated with all these things. So the Digico system has to handle within entity for their own services or the products, different platforms. They have to think differently. They have to think for these mobile devices. They have to think for that laptops, desktop, etc., etc. And for each of them, they may have the multiple operating systems. And when they are connected with the other entities, right? When I'm extracting the data, right now, I can have the access. If you go to the bank and if you want to see the land records, particularly in the agriculture sector financing, if you want to see the land records of a particular farmer, now there is an interaction. So one portal is provided, the bank staff can visit that portal, they can extract that data, and they can, mount that data into the CBS systems. But see, what is happening? One system is operating totally on an unknown structure, which we don't know. They might be knowing that. The providers might be knowing that. Now, when you are interacting with the banking services through the internet banks, so when you are transferring the funds from one bank to another bank, when you are doing the funds transfer from your mobile app to the other person, when you are using the UPI, right? You can imagine how many Digico systems are in existence, are at the background, they are playing their roles. So there are a lot of things are happening, and that's what we call as a Digico system. Because of the crossing of the boundaries, all these Digico systems has to take into consideration. And when we are discussing about this, the definition of a digital trust, and when we are talking about the integration part of that, think about the integrity of all these things. We have to think about the trust related to the relationship, not only within the entity, but within all these Digico system components. So it could be the devices, it could be the operating system, it could be the gateways, anything. That trust, as I said, of course, you can establish that trust with your own experience, with your own visibility. So you are operating the mobile app of a particular bank, you have experienced it very well. You felt that, okay, over the number of years now, I am using that particular app. It is functioning smoothly, and now I can rely on that. I can trust on that. You can make a mouth publicity of that, right? Some stakeholders would be there who wanted to say, no, okay, I'm experiencing that, but still I need the assurance about all these integrity, about all this security, about all these performances. This is the digital assurance. This is the step where they are expecting the digital assurance, right? So an example of that, just to understand again. So when, again, I'm repeating, it may be possible. So when I'm ordering something on the online shopping, so I want to confirm that whatever the product I'm purchasing, that is well branded, that is having the quality as which is shown on that particular website. The features would be available, which is I have seen on that particular website. So there must be accuracy in the specification. And with that specification, I have selected the product. Even now, when you do the, when you order for this Zomato or this, Swiggy kind of an app, when you are using, they really show you the photos, the pictures of the food stuff. Even when you travel with the airlines and if you want to book your meal or snacks on the travel time, so now they have started to show you the pictures. So you can feel that, okay, I'm going to eat this sandwich. I'm going to have that kind of noodles, isn't it? With the specification, they show you the brand of that also. And of course, with the price tag. So you are rest assured by looking at those photos, the pictures and the images. Okay, I will get this when I'm traveling through the plane. Right. So that accuracy, otherwise what will happen? Now you are looking at the sandwiches and you are getting something else in the travel time, then that will cause a lot of disturbance with your mindset. So I don't want that. So I want that accuracy. I want that specification, the rightly specified in front of me. Otherwise, nobody will trust on that particular website. So again, the specification should be shown clearly. Then the product prices, right? So whatever the tags are there, those at that price, I will get the delivery. Otherwise, यहाँ 500 दिखाई दे रहा है. So here it is shown at rupees 500, and actually on the board I'm getting at rupees 700. That should not happen. Or whenever I'm making the payment, I should be rest assured that I'm going to pay only 500. Then I will confirm all these things. I will confirm my order. It will go to the cart, and then it will ask proceed to pay. When you say, okay, proceed to pay, you will confirm your order. You will see your specification again, and then it will take you to some another URL. It will take you to some another website that you can say that is selection of a gateway. Possibly the options might have been given to you, or you may pay with the mobile app. So here you will, on the laptop, you will purchase that in your cart, but through the mobile app, you would like to make the payment. But both the things now needs to be integrated. So here you are using two different devices, one laptop, another mobile app. Mobile app for the payment, and for the ordering purpose, you are using the laptops. But now what should happen? Whatever the mobile payments you have made, that needs to be confirmed on your laptop. And you are expecting the delivery of that. So all these things needs to happen seamlessly. We don't feel that. When we do all these things, actually we are doing that. I'm nothing saying new here because all of us are experiencing this stuff. But we are not looking what is happening at the background level, how the efforts might have been built up, efforts have been taken up to build all this ecosystem, right? So you want assurance that whatever the payment I am making, that will reach, that will go to the supplier or the vendor from whom I am purchasing that particular product with the accuracy, right? And we are expecting that supplier should give us the receipt. Of course, digitally in the PDF form or somewhere. So we are expecting the receipt of that or the acknowledgement of that particular transaction. And then the supplier will intimate about the dispatch about that particular goods or services with a unique number, with the details of the courier company and all that stuff. Logistic details. We now, further our things go ahead, we would now wanted to trace those things with that logistic system. So now see how many interactions with the different entities are happening here. So the online shopping provider, the to our order, and we will confirm that the things which we have asked for are really we have delivered. And in all these things, the data is getting shared across the various platforms. So at every stage, we need to have an assurance that whatever the data is provided by us for this transaction is safely managed, is privately. The privacy of that data is observed by all these ecosystems. So here, those requirements which I talked about. So I wanted accuracy of the product. I wanted the data privacy. Of course, in all these performance, here I'm not expecting the quality of the product. Of course, we are expecting the quality, no doubt about it. But the quality of performance of all this digital movement. We don't want any disturbance through the website. We don't want any disturbance in the network or at the application level when we are making the payment, right? We don't want any disturbance when we are tracking the logistic systems. Nowhere we want any disturbance. That is the customer's expectation. Come to the second stakeholder, government. Government wanted the transparency of the business data, of the business transaction data with the accuracy. Transparency and the accuracy. They wanted the accurate financial data. They wanted the accurate business transaction data. Of course, one view of the government about the tax applicability and the tax payment. Second, as a regulatory, there could be certain norms or the regulations related to the products, related to the services. And also the government is now coming up more and more compliances related to the data privacy and data security. As far as the investors in the same business, now investors could invest into the IT companies which are providing these services. They could invest into the online shopping provider. They could invest into the basic product manufacturer. They could invest into the gateway suppliers which are allowing our seamless payments. So for them also, they wanted to have the accuracy in the business transaction data. They wanted to have the accuracy in the financial data. And of course, they are also looking up into some risk factors. They are still looking up, okay, this ecosystem does not mean that it is 100% risky. There are some inherent, you can say, or there could be some human interaction in between all this, so which may have some risk factors. So they also wanted to know now, additionally, earlier what was happening? Earlier, the investors were looking only at the accuracy of the business data, financial data. They were not worrying about the data privacy or the digital risk factor, because digital world was not in existence. So they were looking at the manual risk factors. But now, because of this ecosystem, they are expecting the data security, data privacy, and the digital risk factors, which is not easily understandable, which is not easily they can feel, which is not easily they can understand. There they wanted the help of some experts, of some professionals. Assurance enhances this trust. Assurance is the only sector, assurance is the only services which we come to help establish that kind of a digital trust. So this is the survey which is done by the ISACA recently in 2022, and they have shared some of the results of that survey. So you can see that they have shared with the benefits of the digital trust and absence or lack of digital trust. What happens with that? Okay. So when an entity is having a digital trust, what could happen positively? That has been specified in figure 2. So you can see all the parameters are moving up. So they are able to generate 25% higher revenue. The customers are very loyal to them, and that percentage has been increased to 55%. Cybersecurity incidents experience has lowered down, and positive reputation, building up a positive reputation has gone up to 66%. Comparative to that, when there is an absence of digital trust, the parameters are in front of you. I may not talk a lot about that. Now, assurance that will enhance that confidence, that will enhance the digital trust. That is the biggest service which will be done by the assurance for this ecosystem. But for that, friends, we may have to change our assurance approach. So the stakeholders looking at us, at the insurance professional, because we are independent, of course, they wanted this assurance from an independent professional who is having a subject matter knowledge and who should have the expert in this assurance techniques. And they are requiring the assurance about the information, the data processing, the digital processes, and also, as I said, because expectations are there about the accuracy of either of business transaction data or of financial data. So that kind of an assurance they are expecting from the assurance professionals. So we need to understand, we have understood that when the digitalization has already taken up, we used to call that as a computerization. So there was a need, and we recognize that need. So we wanted to change our approaches from the physical or paper-based assurance to the digital assurance. But that was not the total digital assurance. It was, we can say, restricted within the boundaries, within a particular point of sale, buildings or something like that. We all know now that the digital errors differs from the physical errors. Digital risk differs from the physical risk. Digital risk, if we are not having that kind of a knowledge, may the assurance professional may not able to identify. Physical risk were about, the manipulation on the paper records. But what about the manipulation in the digital records? Is it possible? The answer to that is yes, it's possible. Manipulation in the digital record is also possible. Only thing is that we're having an audit technique to identify that kind of a manipulation. Digital control differs from the physical controls. One of the attributes just discussed in the initial discussion, that now there is no need to have the signatures. With your login credentials, which are getting displayed wherever the data is getting stored, that the particular transaction is done by this login ID and authorized by this login ID, that control is working effectively. So whatever the controls we were expecting in a physical time, sometime if the manual intervention is there, still we can expect those physical controls. But if you really see now the capital markets kind of this ecosystem, can you imagine that you are expecting the reconciliation kind of stuff? The reconciliation is required, but that the reconciliation in the digital world is totally different from the reconciliation what we used to do in the physical timing. So in the physical timing, when we were using the paper-based transaction, we were generating, we were calling for the bank book, we were calling for the bank statement, then we were asking for the reconciliation statement and stuff like that. In the digital control, the reconciliation is now happening with certain softwares, not only in a one-way manner, there could be the three-way, four-way reconciliation stuff that is now getting generated. Not only that, whatever be the cause of the differences, the action for that is now getting generated by some software. So ultimately, now instead of wasting a time on doing this reconciliation, now we have to put our efforts for identifying whether the actions on that reconciliation points have been taken effectively by that particular staff or not. So we may not need, once we establish the confidence by evaluating, how can we do that? I will explain that. But once we do that, the process of the reconciliation is having a good control and it is giving us the accurate results, then the only part remains for the auditing purposes, whatever be the cause of action which is coming out of that reconciliation statement, that action has been taken by that particular entity or not. So we really don't need to go and check the reconciliation kind of stuff. Right. So that's why the digital controls, we wanted to have that whether the particular transaction has been done by particular staff who is having a authority to do that transaction. Let us say, again, I will go back to a particular banking example. Let us say that in a bank, a loan of rupees 5 lakh can be sanctioned by the branch manager. That is the delegation of power. A loan of rupees 5 lakh can be sanctioned by the branch manager as per the delegation of power. Earlier, we wanted to see the delegation power document. We wanted to see the signatures on that, on the sanction note. And if that is of a manager, we'll cross-check, okay, 5 lakh ka loan hai, the loan amount is 5 lakh, the delegation of power is 5 lakh. Okay, now we are getting satisfied. We wanted to check that physically. But in the ecosystem, is that required? Because once you set and verify the parameters with the delegate, which your user management, login management, if you have configured by that particular bank in that manner that only the branch manager who is having that delegation of power, he can only authorize and his login credentials would be there on that particular loan sanction transaction. If that process is set, that process is verified once, then there may be only the certain exceptions. Of course, we may have to look into, but otherwise, what is the cause of checking again that by the document? Those things needs to be kept in mind. So when we are talking, what is the difference? Digital errors are definitely different from the physical errors. Now you can expect that there should not be any totaling difference. The totaling would be correct. the posting would be correct. Of course, there is no as such posting. I will just explain to you how it is happening. We are having the imagination that there is a posting process itself in the computer, but friends, there is no posting process in the computerization. There is no posting process, right? So now posting errors would not be there. Calculation errors, we are expecting very less. Possibly it could be there, but that needs to be done by the IT audit. So the calculation related errors could be minimized. Processes inbuilt with the controls needs to be verified at some instances. Any tampering with that processes, any kind of tampering, that will be result into the exceptional kind of an output, which in the digital assurance is more and more required to be verified. And that's why the traditional assurance differs from the expected digital assurance. How? I will again come to it. But when we moved from the physical world to this digital world, some positive things happened in the assurance area. One thing, that is an evaluation of the IS audit. There was a requirement of the information system audit. Earlier, again, if you see the journey of the information system audit, earlier we called it as an EDP audit, electronic data processing audit. It shifted to the I. Now we call it as information system audit is expected for the ITGC, information technology general controls. It is expected for the application controls. Nowadays, with the DISICO system, it requires something additional, right? So I can say the scope of the IS audit is getting wider and wider and wider, and they are going to play the crucial role in the digital DISICO system, because they are the ones who are going to give the assurance, one, about the ITGC, information technology general controls, two, about the application controls, the various applications which are getting interacted for various purposes. Three, the seamless interface or integration between the two entities. When the one entity is crossing the border with the other entities, the seamless interface or integration. When I say that I'm transferring the funds by the UPI, or I'm transferring the funds from the IMPS gateway, so there the NPCI is getting connected with a particular bank to a switch, and all this movement is happening seamlessly. The trust, the assurance needs to be given by the information system auditor as far as the processes, as far as the risk, as far as the controls which are expected in that DISICO system. So you can say the evaluation of the IS audit, when the things were moved from the paper-based transaction to the digital arena. So evaluation of the IS audit was a positive way, a positive factor, and still it will gain a lot of importance, and it will be the major contributor in this digital assurance. Then for carrying out, let's say internal audit, let's say statutory audit, let's say tax audit, then we started using a CAT, computer assisted audit tools. So we were trying to catch the data, or we embedded certain controls which could be there, which we were expecting. We tried to convert some data in a readable manner, which we can handle that. So we tried to use the audit tools which can convert the PDF files into the Excel files, and then we started using the formulas. We started using the data analysis tool, so the Excel sheet, for finding out the samples, and by finding out certain exceptions with the use of that help of that, whatever the facilities of the data sorting or formula is given in the Excel sheet. So we moved from the traditional way to use of the CAT, to use of the data analysis tools. We also started using the audit management tools. So now many of the chartered accountants, they are using the audit tools for the planning, for the handling of the audit manpower, for reporting purposes. So audit tools are available for these purposes. One more thing which is emerged out of this digitalization is when all these digital devices connected with the cyber world. So there was a necessity to have the assurance about that cyber security. So one more flavor added, in the assurance about the cyber security, and that is also going to play a crucial role when we are going to talk about the digital assurance. And now we have to think about now then if these things are happening, as I have started my discussion by saying that really we want to have the audit evidences in the manner which we are having in the physical time. So we have to think about some different ways to confirm the audit evidences. We have to think about the audit reporting. We are using certain languages in the audit reporting. Right. We are mentioning there that the books of accounts as required by the law are maintained by the particular entity. This is the word which we are using in the audit report. What we are reporting, the books of account as required by the particular law has been maintained by the particular entity. Now, friends, if you really understand this digital world, is there really the maintenance of the books of accounts process is there? I will come back to this point. Then the disclosure of the financial results, fine. There are laws, there are certain formats, there is Schedule 3, there is Banking Regulation Act, which prescribes the formats of the balance sheets and the profit and loss accounts. I agree to that. In that fashion, the financial results are expected to be published, of course, with the compliance with all the accounting and other laws and regulations, accounting standards and other laws and regulations. But the verification of that, we can't do with the traditional approach. Because all this is coming out in front of us with this digital system. So there we have to change our mindset for the assurance. So let us talk about the digital assurance and its approaches, the core part. So right now, if you search on the net, you will find these two approaches. Assurance about the digital ecosystem. One, our CA Institute's approach, which has recently published, I think in the January 2023, a technical guide on the digital assurance. And that is a very, very important step which is taken by our ICAI. Salute to the ICAI, because they have taken a step ahead for this digital assurance. That is very, very useful. And I think when I say that we have to change our mindset for the collection of the audit evidence, this technical guide is giving you the right direction about it. So that is one approach about the digital assurance. Second approach, there are a lot of solutions, softwares, systems, which are available if you take a search of that on the net. So that I call it as a market-based solutions for the digital assurance. So let us take a look at what these things are there. So the first I will take about the technical guide, which is issued by our institute. So basically the guide, I'm not going to discuss all the details which are there in the technical guide. I suggest all the participants to visit our institute's website. The technical guide is available for downloading on our institute's website. So you can download that. And I hope that will going to play a crucial role in this digital assurance. So this guide is basically talking about the digital assurance from gathering of an audit evidence aspect. We all know the importance of a gathering of an audit evidence. There is a separate auditing standard, auditing and assurance standards is also there. And according to that standards requirement, the auditors has to require to collect the evidences. And we all know that we can trust more on the external evidences rather than the internal evidences. So this technical guide is talking about gathering of the audit evidences from external sources. So a couple of examples are in front of you, which the guide is talking about. The pricing related data you can collect from the external sources. Various transactions, sales purchase related transaction, you can get the data from the GST network. If you wanted to, estimate some things in your project report, if you wanted to forecast something, you can have that economical data from the related to the forecast, trends, etc., etc. We can have the credit history of the company of any person available on the various credit score sites. If you want to have some industry specific data, that is also available on the various websites. So all these things are available, which may be useful for the financial audit, for the internal audit, for the external audit as an evidence. So when we are asking about the third party confirmation, we can get that in a way by collecting these audit evidences from the external sources. That is what the technical guide is talking about. Of course, there are certain precautions which the auditor is expected to take when they are gathering the evidences to these external sources, because they have to first think about the reliability of that particular website or from that particular site from on the net if is taking that particular data from a particular site on the website, then he has to think about the reliability, the trustworthiness of that particular website. He has also to, the auditor also has to think about the independence of that data, because right now there is a trend in the social media, on the net also, to create the influence, the data could be biased one. So independence of the data is again an important test which needs to be carried while collecting these external sources as an audit evidences. What is the market acceptability of that particular database or the data source from where we are gathering the data? Whether the reviews, particular reviews on that particular browser or that particular website shows the market is accepting that as a reliable data. They are taking the cognizance of that, and even the regulators or the lawmakers are taking the cognizance as an acceptability of that data. Of course, that can be built up with the auditor's past experience. What is the timeline of that data? Because it should not be too old, because if I'm doing the audit for 2022-23, the data should be related to that particular financial. I may not use the data of the older periodicity. So what is the timeline for which I'm gathering the data, and whether that accurate data for that particular time period is available? So I have to test on that point also. We have to cross-check that for that particular audit evidence as an information we are gathering, whether alternative information is available, which is contradicting the one which we are collecting. That means we may have to again test which one is reliable, whether X is reliable, whether Y is reliable, all that things we have to think out. So there are certain precautions which definitely the auditors has to take while gathering these external sources. Of course, the sites where you can trust upon, like the GST networks, like the income tax sites. So why you can trust that? Because of the governance. I'm not talking government, I'm talking about the governance. So the governance of the information providers, the digital, they are providing the digital information. If the governance of them is trustworthy, then you can rely on their information. You can take the help of those information as a external audit evidences, right? So in the technical guide, they have given some of the examples. Like if you wanted to confirm the sales of a particular entity. So auditor can take the e-way bill register, they can take the sales registers, they can reconcile that, and they can confirm the sales proceedings. In case of an aviation industry, if you are doing the audit of an airport, I'm giving this example, which are there in this technical guide. So if you are doing the audit of an airport, you can reconcile the number of passengers declared to the airport authorities. That data might be available on their particular network, and you can compare that with the declared sales for that particular aviation industry. So that can be easily done. In case of an payroll process, in various entities, we have to confirm the salary. So there, the payroll process, you can compile the employees' data by comparing with that Provident Fund portal, which they are using as an universal account number, UAN number. So you can cross-check once, or any addition is there with comparison with that particular portal given by the PO. So this is an external data which you can use as an audit evidences. In the bank, if you wanted to confirm whether the borrower is a willful defaulter or not in other NBFC or other banks, you can go to the particular websites which are made available by the RBI or others, credit rating agencies. You can take a call for the credit rating agencies report and you can check the default status of that particular borrower which the bank is offering loan. So multiple sources are available, okay, to confirm the transaction. I mean, not to confirm the transaction, but to gather the external evidences. Earlier, we were totally dependent upon the auditee. So auditee will helping us. At that time, auditee was helping us to even collect the external resources as an audit evidences. But nowadays, independently, it might be possible for the assurance professionals to collect this stuff independently without having the dependency on the auditee to get that data. Or sometimes, of course, if you require some login credentials, you can use the login credentials of that particular auditee. You can request them to open those sites, and you can request them to download particular kind of data. For example, like a payroll processing kind of. So these external resources are now available. In the technical guide, you will find many such examples. And that is one way to look at the digital assurance. So as far as our financial audit is concerned, as far as our internal audit is concerned, wherever we are requiring, wherever we need external sources as an audit evidence, we can go to these particular sites, we can find out on the net, and we can use our professional judgment to get satisfied about that particular audit evidence. That was the ICI approach. And as I say, it will take a long way. This is the first step, but that is a welcome step. And I appreciate the efforts taken by our ICI, publishing this technical guide, so giving a helpful hand. Second approach is the market approach about these digital assurance. As I said, if you search on the net about the digital assurance, you will find multiple solutions about the digital assurance. What they are talking about. What they are talking about as a digital assurance. So the first thing, if you remember, which I told you when I was discussing the example of that, purchasing of a washing machine. So to establish the digital trust that whatever that online shopping provider is giving me the information in the form of image, in the form of video, in the form of features, in the form of price, in the form of manufacturing tag. One agency should be there which will give me the assurance that that particular online shopping provider is giving the accurate information, accurate contents about the various products which they are publishing on their websites, which I am going to procure. So verification of the contents needs to be carried out by some agency. That is a core part of the digital assurance in the market approach. And that is a very, very important thing. When millions of customers are going to visit a particular site, somebody should be there to vouch, to verify the contents of the products, the tagging of the products, the pricing of the products, the offering of the products, and whatever the features they are mentioning, whether they are accurate or not. The second information, when you go to book an hotel, you go to the multiple sites. And then you try to find out the reviews about that hospitality services. Multiple times you wanted to see the reviews, the ratings by the customer. What is the trustworthiness of that ratings? How can we trust? Suppose out of the 5-star, a particular site about the hospitality which is showing the 4 stars. How can I keep the trust on that 4-star? Why cannot I assume that that could be manipulated result? Right? Because now the news could also be manipulated. The social contents could also be manipulated on the social platforms. How can I trust about those reviews about the products and services? So there should be one agency, independent professionals, who will give me that trust that whatever the reviews are appearing on that hospitality sites, those are trustworthy. The digital asset source of this info is valid. So what does this mean? So right now I'm dealing with so many digital assets, right from virtual asset, virtual currency, cryptocurrency, and whatever. Even information and data itself is a digital asset. We all know. So the information which is provided, the reviews which have been provided, which are generated from a digital asset, which is a valid one. So they are not using any analytica kind of a mechanism. They are not using any kind of they are not using any digital asset, because artificial intelligence, robotics, they can also fall into the category of the digital asset, and they can also manipulate the results. So I wanted to confirm whether the human beings are really giving the reviews, and it's not the robotics or the artificial intelligence which are generating those reviews. So the data, the information, which is also the part of the digital asset, that is a valid one. And the next thing, assurance regarding the integrity of the info across the multiple devices. All the things are seamlessly working, whether I can book my order from the laptop, whether I can book my order from the mobile, I can book my order from my tab, I will get the seamless experience, smooth experience. There is not a disturbance, there is not a change in info. Whatever I can watch on the laptop, the same thing I can see on the mobile also. So assurance regarding this cross multiple platforms, cross multiple devices, integrity about that. And the integrity about the functioning with the different ecosystems. So when I'm purchasing online, payment is guaranteed, payment is assured, not only from the customer point of view, also from the supplier's point of view. Right now, you are joining this webinar, having a trust on the platform through which we are connected. You are having a trust on that platform. You are expecting something out of that platform, that there should not be any disturbance. I should clearly get the audio. I should clearly understand the subject matter. I could clearly view the PPTs. That is the trust which you are expecting. Somebody should give you the assurance by testing. It's called the integrity testing of this multiple components which are the part of the digital ecosystems. So if you look at the digital assurance, the second approach which is in existence right now, the digital assurance, which I call it as a market approach, which is available about the integrity testing of all these digital asset, integrity testing of all these digital components and the contents. So a lot of tools are available, and that is opening up lots of opportunities for us as a professionals. So we have to think our assurance services not only limited to the IT audit, not only limited to the financial audit, not only limited to the internal audit, but about such digital assurance with the market. And that is, my friend, other companies have already stepped into. But we as a chartered accountant, we should take the advantage of that. We can build up our skill set for that. We can request our institute to have some courses, curriculum about this, and build up that skill set, skepticism kind of things, and go with this market approach also. That is also possible. The third approach, in the digital assurance with the market approach, two more things which I would like to mention here. So, as I said, we are expecting the integrated testing about the interaction between the digital components. Also, we are expecting the trust in the form of some third-party assurance for the cloud controls. We are also expecting the assurance regarding the artificial or ML-based applications. And when we are going to play within the virtual assets, when we are going to use the cryptocurrencies, we need a digital assurance because cryptocurrency will all function in the digital mode. So there will be the huge demand in the market for the various stakeholders that the assurance professional should provide the assurance regarding the AI/ML-based applications and the cryptocurrency also. The thing is whether we are prepared for that, whether we are developing the skill sets for that, whether we are demanding the skill sets for that. So as I said, a lot of opportunities are coming within this market approach also. Now, the third approach, which is a different perspective, which I'm going to talk about. The digital assurance with the digital approach. When we are going to do the audit in the DIGICO system, we require the digital approach. Example, when we go for the concurrent audit in the bank, when we go for the statutory audit in the bank, many of the times we check, we verify the transactions which are done by the human interventions, which are done by the manual processes. How many times we verify? I'm asking about when we are working, when we are doing the audit in the capacity of the concurrent audit or as a statutory audit of a bank of a branch. How many times we are verifying the transaction which are performed with this ecosystem? Example, IMPS transaction, UPI transaction, net banking transaction, taxation transaction. We are relying on the digitalized processes. But there is a need to verify that also. But with the traditional approach of the assurance, it will not work. So this ecosystem requires the digital approach to find out the digital risk and to verify those transactions. What is the digital approach? So one thing we have to understand in the digital approach is that data is the core part. Garbage in, garbage out. So when we are talking about the digital approach in the digital assurance, the assurance of the data, the trust about the data will play a crucial role. Why I am saying so? Now, if you remember, I mentioned that when in the audit report, we mentioned that the books of accounts as required by a XYZ law are maintained by this entity. Now, friends, imagine or think, this is the reality, whether the books of accounts are really kept as a books of accounts. The answer is no. The data is captured in the various formats on the screens, and data is recorded. Data is preserved. When we want a books of accounts in a particular format, let's say in the ledger format, let's say in the subsidiary format, let's say in the scroll format, let's say in the cash book format, let's say in the financial statement, balance sheet format, there is a defined process which generates the output in the form of ledger extract, in the form of stores, in the form of cash book, in the form of bank book, in the form of balance sheet, in the form of profit and loss account. The concept of keeping of a books of account was in existence in the manual era. There we can physically see The transaction records were different. Books of accounts were different. Books of accounts were a bounded books, like a cash book, a register, the ledgers, the bank book, which then we used to cross-check with the vouchers and the supporting documents. So there were two different records which were in existence. Now, all this is getting entered as a data. Then the suitable output, we want the voucher, it will be get generated in the format of a voucher. If you want cash book, it will be get generated in the format of a cash book. If you want the ledger extract, the report will be extracted in the format of a ledger extract. Right. So books of accounts is nothing but the set of data which is getting presented in the form of a report. Then the real question is, when we say that the books of accounts are maintained, really the books of accounts are maintained, or it is the data which is maintained and getting extracted in a particular format of a books of accounts. That is the thing which we have to think about, and accordingly we have to develop our digital approach. Financial statements, balance sheets, profit and loss accounts, it's nothing but the extraction of a data in a particular format. So what is really maintained here? Not books of accounts, not the balance sheet, not the ledgers. Everything is available in the database, in the tables of the database. Whatever be the format of the ledger extracts, it is getting extracted. When we say that debits and credits are in existence, remember, when we are using the manual kind of and stuff, where suppose there is a transaction of 1 lakh debit, 1 lakh credit. So we were mentioning 1 lakh 2 times for debit once, for credit once. Now, within a single screen, we just enter as an input 1 lakh. It will be get flagged as a debit. It will be get flagged as a credit. Whenever you want a report in a particular format about what is the debit, what is the credit, you will extract that as an output. So really, what is maintained? It's not the books of accounts. It's the data. What the entities are maintaining right now is the data, which they are presented in whatever format you want. It's the report. The second question we have to think about, does the sampling required now? We were using the Excel sheet, we were using the Excel analysis to find out the sampling's abnormality. But now all the data can be processed for whatever our checkpoints is. And that can be automated, that can be scheduled. So ultimately, there is no need of a sampling because whatever be the transaction, be there the lakhs of transactions, be there be the millions of transactions, all those transactions can be processed with our required checkpoints. Checkpoints for the assurance purposes. And once all that data could be processed with that particular things, why we can adopt the approach of a testing. The thing is that it could happen real time. It could happen anytime. And why to wait for the yearly audit? Why to wait for the half yearly audit? Why to wait for the quarterly audit? When all other transactions are taking on the real-time basis, why not the assurance is expected on a real-time basis? If you are not coming across at real-time basis, at least monthly, at least weekly, at least fortnightly. Because now in other these ecosystems, all the stakeholders are expecting the speedy results without any delay. Then why should they rely on an yearly audit and they take the decision on the basis of an yearly audit, which is done and which is the report is published only once? So I might have done my audit in the month of April for the previous years. Based on that audit, if I'm going to take the decisions for the 23-24, there would be a huge change in all these business parameters, technical parameters, everything. So now why the stakeholders should not expect that I want a minimum gap for this assurance. I can't wait for the yearly audit. And whether it is possible, yes, we have to develop the tools, we have to develop the checkpoints. How can that be done? So the new thing is that assurance will become a new financial diagnostic center. We have heard about the medical diagnostic centers where we can scan, right? We can take the X-ray images. We can do the lot of testings. All that with the computerized DIGICO system. The similar thing we can see there in the assurance field also. Ultimately, there is a demand for the DIGICO system in the assurance sector. But the assurance, the core point of this assurance is the data, because data is going to be presented. If you are the financial auditor, the data is going to be presented in a various types of the reports. So data management, the data privacy and the security, data integrity, controlling of the garbage in the data, because how the garbage could enter into the data and it affects or impact the data quality. When in the application there is a non-mandatory field, so the staff of that particular entity will try to enter the garbage. So the field validation processes, process controls, those are enhanced, and that is not a difficult task in nowadays. That will control the garbage in the data. And even though the garbage is entered, there are tools which can detect the data garbages. So all that assurance of the data trust will play a crucial role in this digital assurance. And the same data we are going to take for various assurance checkpoint testing. That is on the real-time basis, if the entity is ready for that, of course, because access is required in any way. I mean, it could be T+1, it could be real-time as per the choice of the auditee. And this is happening. So in this digital assurance, with this digital approach, which is the third approach I'm presenting, I already told you that there will be an importance of the information system audit. The system audit is giving us assurance regarding the data accuracy, data integrity, data privacy, data security, and the total assurance about the auditor's DIGICO systems, with the identification of the digital process risk, digital controls, and integrity about these DIGICO components. So that is definitely coming from the systems audit. What remains is the transactions, verification of the transactions. Transaction trails, which give you all the inputs. Transaction trails related data, which will give you all the origination to the end results. Because the transaction trails are there within the entity, and those are there outside the entity from where we can extract the data. Like suppose we have initiated the purchase order from any website. We can have that data from that particular website. If the payment gateway has confirmed the payment, we can ask for the data from that payment gateway as stated in the ICAI technical guide. Even the entities which are connected with this DIGICO system with the other entities, we can expect that they are having a reconciliation mechanism, again which is digitalized, which will give you the results about the exceptional transaction only, which they are going to handle. And as an assurance service provider, we can concentrate only on that exceptional transactions. So now, this assurance business, this assurance profession like a fintech companies, will become the auditech companies. So this is totally the expectation from the stakeholder that there is a need to build up the assurance this ecosystem, like the fintech companies, like the banking sector, which is expanding, crossing their boundaries. So the assurance sector is also expected to cross their boundaries, set up the digital lab, connect with the different entities digitally, get across all the details, analyze those details sitting in that digital lab. No need to visit the place of the client except for certain physical verification, but that certain physical verification can also take place with the AR, VR kind of technologies. Only thing is that we require the digitalized audit tools. Why? Because we have to digitalize our checkpoints. We have to digitalize our checklist. We have to digitalize the accounting standards. Of course, that is expected that whatever the ERP, CBS, the client or the auditee has implemented, they are configured with the accounting standard. But still, the assurance professional wants to reconfirm those things. So accounting standard digitalization in our audit tools, processing of those database with those auditing standards digitalization required. We further state in our audit report that the entity has complied with the laws and regulations which are expected. We make a statement there in our audit. So whatever be the laws, whatever be the regulations which is expected to be complied by those entities, digitalize those legal provision, digitalize those regulatory provision, cross-check whatever the data you are verifying according to your requirement with the digital tool. And that can happen with this digitalization on a real-time basis. Nowadays, most of the CBSs, most of the ERPs, they are coming up with the compliances of this accounting standard, compliances with the laws and regulations related things. But still, one thing which we want as an assurance company is reconfirmation. Transaction trails, as I said, which can give you the total view of the transaction from the initiation stage to the end payment kind of a stage, up to the recording of a transaction in an accounting fashion. It's not I'm saying that they are maintaining the books of accounts, but they are setting up the flags as a credit, debit, received, not received, accumulated, not accumulated, provision made, not made, in a different. So all that transaction trails, all that flags can be understandable when we are going to start the database as it is. Even the digitalization of the transaction supporting documentation. Now, instead of expecting a particular invoice, you can trace that transaction with the unique number assigned to the transaction from the initiation to the end point. Because ultimately that is going to be reflected in the format of the invoice. There is a requirement to change in the audit process. There is a requirement to change in our thought process. There is a requirement to change what is expected as in checkpoints and how to digitalize that checkpoints in the digital audit. Because friends, this is a huge this ecosystem. Every small vendor also is connected with this ecosystem. Every small vendors for which you are providing the services. Because even the small vendors right now are at least connected with that QR code, with the UPI systems, with this ecosystem. So if you are carrying out an audit or you are giving the assurance for that particular vendor, you will find that transactions are generated one or another this ecosystem, and payment is also done by that UPI, by that QR. So only you will be able to trace out that things and process out that things. Then and then only you will be able to provide the expected effective assurance. So that is the third approach, which will be the complete set, which is the expectation of the total development of the assurance this ecosystem, crossing our boundaries, connecting our assurance profession with other sectors, either generate the audit evidences or to confirm the transaction, and ultimately to confirm the data accuracy and the processes with which the financial statements are disclosed, presented, and in the audit report. We may also require to change the audit reporting language to say that whatever the information which is presented in the financial statement, that is generated from the trustworthy data set and the data processes. So friends, with this, I would like to conclude my thoughts. If there are any queries, Charmi, if there are any questions, please let me know. You are on the mute, Charmi.
Let me check, sir. So we do not have any questions coming on from the participants. That means you have taken the session very nicely. So
I can assume that.
Yeah, their doubts is on the spot cleared. So today at the start of the session, some were amateurs, and now after your session, the impossible has become possible for them. So thank you so much, sir, for taking the session so nicely that our participants do not have any queries. Thank you for such a commendable presentation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much and wish you all the success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Every day holds for the possibility of miracles. So keep hoping for the best and keep shining. And thank you. We have been fortunate enough to be backed up by a team of a very motivated and dedicated team to make this event a rocking success. My sincere thanks to all the secretariats and the entire team, our tech team for all technicial arrangement. Keep learning, keep smiling. So I today, CHR Nisha, sign off for the day, wishing you all a happy weekend. Thank you.